I call this meeting of the North Adams City Council to order for November 9th, 2021. This meeting is being recorded. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Blackmer.
Here.
Bona.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Oleskowitz.
Here.
Sapienza.
Here.
Heaney. Wilkins.
Here.
Having present, we have a quorum. Please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. And the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Given that we have had complaints from viewers at home that they have a hard time understanding us, I will ask, if you don't mind, that you remove your mask when you speak so that in the name of transparency, they know what we're actually saying when we're speaking here. So approval of minutes of the October 26th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Hearing of visitors to speak on the items on the agenda. Please give your name and address for the record. No personal attacks, and you have 2 minutes.
I'm Robert Smith. I live at 163 North Street. Madam President, City Councilors, it's really great that we're going to get the council to a full 9 candidates because it's very important that we have everybody involved who were elected by the citizens of the city here. And I'm glad that the two who will be nominated tonight or sworn in tonight will be back in action and we'll go forward from there. And I just want to say welcome to D.A. Harrington for her appearance here tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the council? Then we will move on to the agenda. Council Paper 12,002-1, communication from President Blackmer requesting the nomination of voting on and swearing in of the 2 non-incumbent candidates receiving the highest vote totals to fill the empty seats. Without objection, I will move to I'll file the communication. And could we have a nomination of the candidates?
Motion to nominate Marie Harpin and Michael Obasahan for the open seats on council.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilor Leskowitz. Do we have any other nominations? All in favor of the 2 nominated, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we will swear in both of the new council members. If you could please come to the front and the clerk will swear you in.
One at a time.
No, we can do both. But Pete said to turn your mic around.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. When being the meeting recorder, I'm just curious of people, if you should explain at all what this is. Is this being streamed live?
It's coming.
It's
that's
coming. I
coming?
think
It's on
Councilor
the
Lamb,
agenda,
it's on the
Okay,
agenda.
all right.
So we can be near the microphone.
Oh, and use your your outside voices, is what he said.
If you would, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Marie Harpin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent on me
as a counselor of the City of North Adams,
as a counselor of the City of North Adams,
and will enforce the laws
and will enforce the laws
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the city and the Commonwealth
of the city and the Commonwealth,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
for a term of 2 years,
for a term of 2 years,
for which I have been elected.
for which I have been elected.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Council Paper 12,023, Mayor's Communication Number 59, to allow time for a brief presentation to council from Main Street Hospitality Group and Peregrine Group. Without objection, I'll file the communication. Mayor, did you have some comments?
Just a brief introduction. I want to just acknowledge the team from Main Street Hospitality and Peregrine and invite them to come and make a brief presentation to talk about their plans for the hotel property right across from us, the current Holiday Inn. So with that, I will invite them up to introduce themselves and tell us a little more about what they have in mind. You could feel free to. I'm sorry, with the chairs.
Yes, that's fine. And speak into the mic, because the mic is for those at home, not for those in the audience.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Mayor and Madam President, for having us here tonight. My name's Colin Kane. I'm a principal with Peregrine Group. We have offices in Boston. Our primary headquarters is in East Providence, Rhode Island. We have an office in Newport. I'm here with my partner, Sarah Eustace, principal and CEO of Main Street Hospitality, who is our hotel operating and investment partner in Newport, as well as here, which we are very excited about, across the street at 40 Main. I do have just a little bit of, it's nothing, just a little bit about us. The last thing this council needs is probably more paperwork to take home, but
Thank you.
certainly, just a little bit to share who we are. Madam President, we're here really to thank you, the council, the mayor, and congratulate the city of North Adams. We have been working here now on acquiring the Holiday Inn across the street for the past 7 or 8 months, and we have been overwhelmingly impressed by the warm welcome that we have received from government officials. Mayor, thank you so much for your time and your welcome guidance. Director Navalli has been an enormous help, and his team, and Inspector Moranti, as we've looked to understand the building and address any issues that are simply a result of time. It's an old building built in 1974. The business community, we've met with many of those who have invested already in the city. The banking community, the legal community. You have a very sophisticated population and a very sophisticated community that has been overwhelmingly helpful and supportive as we try to understand how we can invest here and make the city a better place and make the community and building a better part of this community. We're just going to share a little bit about who we are. We're going to share a little bit about what we hope to do across the street and answer any questions that the council may have for us. I promise we'll be short. I know it's late at night. Again, Peregrine Group, we are an advisory, a property management, and investment company. We're celebrating our 21st year this year, and we kind of own a whole bunch of things characterized primarily by a good story and a great location. So we have a hotel and a marina in Newport. We have a hotel and marina in Block Island, but we also have a restored electrical substation built in 1912 in Boston. And the characteristics of each of those projects is a great place and a great community and an opportunity to make it better. And we believe making it better is being part of a community, recognizing that we are not from here. We are not here to tell the city of North Adams what to do. We're here to listen to the city of North Adams and try to deliver on what the city would like to have happen and what the community would like to have happen. Sarah, you want to talk a little bit about Main Street?
Sure. Thank you. So,
Main Street Hospitality, we are a hotel operations and management company. We are based in the booming metropolis of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and actually based at the Red Lion Inn, where my family has been in the hospitality business for 50 years. We have had the privilege of stewarding porches for 20 years, and so have developed a love and respect for the North Adams community and the evolution in the last 20 years, which has been significant. We have seen an opportunity with the property across the street, have gotten to know the owners, to try to contribute to enhancing the guest experience, to supporting the staff there, and to looking at how that property might become more dynamic and serve the community in an enhanced way. So those conversations have been going on for over 3 years and have come to a really great confluence with our partners who have the expertise that we needed to get the job done. So we're very grateful for that and excited to transition the property in a very few weeks.
Right after Thanksgiving, you'll be stuck with us as your neighbor. So we'll apologize in advance. It's a 1974 building. It can never be the restored NORAD mill. It can't be Greylock. It can't be one of the beautiful buildings you have left on Main Street that survived urban redevelopment. But it can be a better and more attractive place for people that live in the community and are visiting your community. It is a primary gateway to your city. One of the first things that you see when you come from Adams is a giant green backlit Holiday Inn sign. Perhaps not the Chamber of Commerce's, ideal messaging. So we will be taking the flag off the property. We'll be taking it independent under Main Street's management, and it will be it will be called Hotel Down Street. And we know there's a great art organization. We're not trying to glom onto their great name, but it does have a long tradition here in the city. We're not taking it wicked upscale. That's a really renowned term, but we're not taking it super upscale. There are plenty of, excuse me, plenty of really strong upscale offerings in this market. If you want to go high end, you stay at Porches. You stay at Tourist, you go to the Williams Inn. It's really important for this community to have an affordable option if you're visiting MCLA, if you have a sports team playing here, if folks are visiting their cousins here in North Adams. But the intent is to improve that experience. She's tired. The building's tired. The core was stuck somewhere when Miami Vice was still on TV. Actually, that's too exciting. So, the Milwaukee version of Miami Vice, whatever that was, it didn't last long as a show. But the goal is to modernize it while still making it very, very accessible to the public. So the first round of improvements will be the parking lot and the landscaping. She's dull. She's not particularly attractive. Doesn't feel really safe to us. We'll be redoing the lobby. We have to reorient the entrance back to where it originally was. The entrance was facing the parking lot. Makes a lot of sense. Sometime in the mid-'80s, an office building was added, and our hope and intent is to take that office building down and use that area not for additional parking, but for green space and outside programming. So when you cross the bridge, the hope is that yes, there's a parking lot there, but it's a safe and clean-looking parking lot with some landscaping and a better oriented front entry. The lobby today, it's not ADA compliant. It's kind of, there's no real place to sit, to talk, for folks to come in off Main Street and engage with the property. So we will be cleaning it up and reorienting that to feel much more modern and community oriented. We hope to activate the storefronts. We know that Main Street has a lot of empty storefronts, but they're filling. There's real energy on your Main Street. We don't expect the retail component of the hotel to drive our economics. In fact, we expect to subsidize, to a large degree, those sort of activating storefront uses. But it needs to be bright. It needs to have lights on at night. It needs to look like you can walk from the bottom of the bridge all the way to the end of Main Street and feel like you're in a built environment that's clean, maintained, and lit. So that's really the primary objective of our improvements, in addition to the rebranding. I want to talk a little bit about the staff, because I think it's important.
We do.
Oh, thank you. Oh. See, you guys are
Hospitality
you guys are
at
really
City Hall.
polite.
So just from an operational standpoint, and Colin touched a little bit on the positioning of the property. And when we speak about positioning, we mean the identity, the level of service, the quality of what happens inside the hotel. And we always want that value proposition to be very much in balance. So it is our intention to be sure that this property remains accessible from a price standpoint, but that we upgrade the guest experience with the quality interiors and great hospitality, which already exists in the hotel. So there's a great team in place who we've gotten to know well, led by a general manager who has been there for many years. And they have been operating as a satellite of operations and hotel company out of Burlington. So we're excited because we can provide them with more of a network, more support, more development, and more of a network for their professional careers, which is really what we like to do. We certainly see synergies and partnership with our team at Porches right around the corner. So there are great skills that can be shared and services that can be shared between the two properties. So it is really our intention to put the staff first, to work on guest experience, to evolve the feeling inside the hotel, as Colin mentioned, over a series of months in different phases. But we'll be here with our sleeves rolled up, and we're very privileged to participate in another great project in North Adams. So, thank you.
So our hope is that we will be done with these improvements, that the integration of the team into Main Street will be done by this time next year. We have a lot of work ahead. We do hope to keep the hotel open as we make these improvements, so it will be a little awkward, as we kind of route people through construction areas. But we're thrilled, Madam President, to be in your city and working with you all. As I said, it's been incredibly welcoming and supportive since we started thinking about the project, and we look forward to that sort of energy and cooperation continuing for many, many years to come. So we're happy, and congratulations, by the way, to the new council folks. That's a wonderful thing. A few here tonight. We're happy to answer any questions. Again, we very much appreciate your time. We appreciate the invitation, Mayor. But we're not going away. You can, you guys are 3 hours from everywhere, but it's a quick 3 and a really enjoyable 3 hours. So.
Councilor Wilkinson?
Yes. What's going to happen, if anything, to the North Adams Historical that's in the building?
It is. We met with them this afternoon. It's unlikely they'll be able to stay. We very much embrace what they do as an organization. We know and we'll take advantage of the opportunity to integrate many of the things that they have archived into the design elements of the hotel. We're hopeful that we can have a presence in the building. Today they occupy 5,500 square feet. And that doesn't necessarily activate that front door. But it's important, we think, to have a presence there that's, like I said, subsidized, but we can't accommodate the entire archive.
Well, we'll have to find them a new spot.
And we're here to help that. And we've pledged to help resource their move and work with them as much as help as much as we can. They're a really important part of the community, and they're wonderful folks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Bona?
Thank you, through the chair. One question answered. One, I thank you for bringing this to the city council. This is something normally we would see at the planning board, so, but you probably still got your turn over there, I'm not sure. Did you already do that?
No, we don't have any specific asks yet.
Okay.
We have to buy it.
That's right, so that's a start. So as a city councilor, I welcome you to the city, and also as a neighbor across the street, on Berkshire Emporium, so I stare at your building or your future building every day. And so I'm grateful to see some changes coming. And again, I think we share, I have customers that go there and vice versa, so I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you bringing this to us, because this is not something we see in the council that often, so thank you.
Well, it's a privilege to be here, and we're always available. For anything that the council, any questions, You may not always like the answer, Councilman Voter, but we'll certainly give you a direct answer.
If I could continue, so I understand, with the museum, it is a big space, so I can understand why that might happen, and also the, would probably be the dermatologist's office is the main office that takes that section that is probably...
We've had many conversations with Dr. Cavalli. She's a wonderful healthcare provider. She is really the longest pole in the tent on the schedule because she needs to go into licensed space.
Sure.
So we're going to work with her and be as patient as we can to make sure she finds a good home.
Yep. And isn't much of your second floor also commercial? So is that going to change?
It's oddly commercial, yes. They weren't selling rooms, so they sold offices. Most of those tenants have either moved already or will be moving. Almost all of them will not be displacing out of North Adams, but expanding in North Adams in other locations.
There's spaces on the second floor of Main Street they can go to.
Yes, yes, and we hope they do. But there's really an opportunity to as we grow and confident that the hotel will be successful to restore those areas to the 10 or 12 hotel rooms that were lost.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Sapienza?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. It sounds like you've got some great ideas, and I do welcome you to the city of North Adams, and I look forward to seeing some of the changes that you are proposing once you've acquired this property. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
Counselor
I
Luskowitz?
will just concur. I just thank you for making a commitment and investment in North Adams and to being part of a catalyst to give the downtown a little bit of an uptick. I look forward to seeing the future and what it's going to hold with you. Thank you.
I would say honestly that we're at the tail end. I think that the investment that the city has made, that the Commonwealth has made, and other businesses and investors, we're following behind folks that already broke the bow wave, very much to their credit and to yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to comment too. Actually, I want to thank Main Street Hospitality for expanding their role in the city and for you for coming here. Also, I have a question. What are you going to get rid of those giant concrete things that block us from getting in and out of City Hall and the extra exit that way?
We're well aware of the 4 lights that you wait on when you leave the parking lot here. We are committed to finding a solution for the transportation. They were blocked, according to the GM, because it became a real dangerous circumstance for people that were walking into the hotel. If we can find, Madam President, a safe way to grant a permanent easement to the city, we will find it. So we're committed to working with the city. It just needs to be safe. It was a pretty dangerous situation, our understanding, because it was not marked, it wasn't lit. There was no demarcation in the pedestrian way. But yes, we are committed to seeing if we can figure it out.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Council Paper 12,014-1, Mayor's Communication Number 57, to reschedule the date for the tax classification public hearing. Without objection, I will file the communication. Mayor?
Thank you. I had originally requested time tonight to present the tax classification, and the simple answer is we were not ready, and it became clear last week that with the timeline of approval from DLS, we would not be able to give you information in a timeline that would give you a chance to review and prepare any questions and comments. And I know that the comment at the last meeting was with 2 members seated tonight. If there were any questions on process, Councilor Harpin, you've been through this before, but Councilor Abasahan, this is your first run through, that there be time for any meetings or discussions. So I am requesting a special meeting with apologies for next Tuesday at 7:30. I met with the finance team this morning. They're finalizing everything, and I am committed to having that to you by the end of the week. They'll have it to me tomorrow to finalize, and I expect I'll be in the office after the Veterans Day observance on Thursday, just putting the touches on that, so that will be available to everyone with time to consider.
Okay. So everybody's got that on their schedule for next week now?
So,
Council Paper 12,022, Mayor's Communication Number 58, appointing Rye Howard to the Planning Board for a term to expire February 1st, 2026. Without objection, I'll file the communication. Mayor?
Sure. I don't know if a lot of people have met Rye, but they and their partner are the owners of Bear and Bee, and Rye expressed to me the interest in the open seat on the planning board. I think they'll be a great addition to the work of the board, and make that recommendation wholeheartedly.
Motion to appoint?
Second?
Councilor Lamb, Councilor Leskowitz. Any discussion? Councilor Bona?
Yep, just briefly, also, one thing to be note that about Rye is that they are a toxicology professor and big with the environmental issues.
Yes.
So those are sort of a plus when it comes to the planning board. Not toxicology so much, but maybe more the environmental portion of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Council Paper 12,017, communication from Councilor Lamb, introducing a mobile meeting camera system for use in live broadcast of public meetings in City Hall. So, without objection, I will file the paper, and Councilor Lamb.
Sure, thank you. So people are probably wondering what this random white tower in the middle of the room is, and that's what this is about. So I'm just going to read the communication into the record so that folks sort of understand, and then we'll kind of talk about the system, and then I believe that the clerk or the assistant clerk can answer questions that the councilors might have. But dear fellow councilors, over the past year, several of us on council have been raising the issue and need for us to provide more accessibility to public meetings here in the city by leveraging virtual technology. In today's digital age, there is no reason that the public shouldn't be able to view and/or access public recordings, or access recordings of our meetings beyond watching a limited selection on public access television. As the pandemic begins to slow, and with an increased number of meetings moving to in-person, the accessibility we have seen through Zoom over the past 18 months is prone to decrease. Additionally, as many residents in the city don't actually have Spectrum, but instead rely on streaming online services, there is a significant gap in accessibility for the public to know about the machinations of city council, as well as city boards, commissions, and committees that hold public meetings. To those ends, I am excited to share that after working on this for several months now with the leadership and support of Mayor Bernard and the tactical help of both Mark Pearson and I'll also mention Ash in IT and the city clerk's office, the city has purchased and is able to make available a mobile meeting camera system that will allow for public meetings held in City Hall to be broadcast live and stored as recordings once fully set up. This is an important step in ensuring that members of our community are able to be more engaged in local decision-making and in improving accessibility to meetings of public concern. I look forward to seeing this technology implemented and used to the fullest extent possible for the benefit of the city of North Adams, its residents, and community members. So that's the communication, but basically the OWL system is the system that you see before you. It has a little face on it if you look close enough. Essentially what this is it's live streaming through the computer over there that we have the assistant clerk on. And it's got two different cameras that are actually operating simultaneously. One is a stationary camera that is a 360 view of the room, so they can see all of us and all of our faces at once. And then the other is actually a camera that's probably looking at me right now because it actually tracks whose voice is in the room. So that camera is slightly blurry because it has to be lower resolution so that it can move actively, but it still captures the audio up to 16 feet away, and it focuses on the person that is speaking. So that's able to capture anybody in the chambers as well as folks that might be at the microphone speaking to the council from any point in the chamber. So I'm extremely grateful. There was a lot of testing that had to occur to work out the kinks on this, but essentially what this now allows is for meetings beyond just regular city council meetings. So our other boards, committees, commissions that are moving to in-person meetings in City Hall are now able to access technology that can stream their stream their meetings just as readily as ours have been via Zoom over the course of the pandemic, knowing that we've been reliant, solely solely on NBCTC to carry the lift of distribution, this adds another level of access for the public that, again, many of whom, I know myself included, don't have Spectrum cable, so we don't actually have the opportunity to watch these meetings in real time from home. Now folks can, literally from anywhere. So it's streaming live, I think right now, to our Facebook page for the city of North Adams. So it's North Adams City Hall, I believe, is the Facebook account. So folks can go there and view it live, and it'll be recorded there as well, so you can access it pretty much instantaneously after meetings are over. And so that's just another asset that I'm excited to see come to fruition. I just wanted to thank the mayor for making the investment in this system, but then also for all the folks that have really put it into play and will continue to keep it upgoing and operational for everyone to use. So thank you.
I do have a note here that this is a trial run and they're working out any kinks and issues. So please be patient as we get this really operationalized. And Councilor Luskowitz.
Just one question through the chair to Councilor Lamb. So it gets broadcast live, but can it be broadcast on multiple forums, like the Facebook Live and other ways of viewing besides the Facebook?
So I believe that's one of the things that Mark has been working on, is the ability to multicast, I think is the phrase, which basically means distributing it on multiple platforms. I know with Zoom, for instance, when we were doing Zoom meetings, you could broadcast them live on Facebook and YouTube Live, and I think another platform as well. So trying to figure out how we can do that with the software that's available for this. I've seen owls used in Zoom, I've seen them used in YouTube, I've seen them used for Facebook, so they clearly do have the functionality to operate across those, but quite honestly, I am very impressed that the system is up and running tonight, because I thought we were just going to talk about it tonight. I didn't think we were actually going to see it in action. So again, this is early stage. You're looking at it right now, and again, this will be something where there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but if we don't start now, then we wouldn't necessarily ever start. So I think that it's important that this gets rolling, and I'm excited to see it doing so.
Councilor Vaughn?
Yes. Councilor Luskowitz, are you watching TV during the meeting?
Actually, once you said we were Facebooking live, I just...
No, that's okay. So I'm glad it's on Facebook, but obviously I would like to see it be on Facebook, because we do know that there's many of the public that don't have Facebook accounts. So, did this fall within an IT budget? So the expense-wise, obviously was nothing that we approved, so I'm guessing it fell within some technology budget we already have. And that being said, what is the cost?
So Mayor, if you want to answer the very fine details on this,
because this is really accessibility in an unusual time. We're putting this through our CARES funding. It was minimal. It was I believe it was about $3,000. But I can get you just if you want to remind me, just shoot me an email and I'll get you the exact figure from.
Okay. And secondly, is it always going to have to be operated by a second person? So I noticed we have our assistant city clerk tonight on a laptop, but some of the boards don't always have that, or may not have, someone always going to have to be trained. And if we only had the one clerk here at the time, is it self-running?
It's not self-running, so someone, if a committee or board wants to operate it, they'll have to get trained on it to use it, but that is something that I think many of those boards and committees should want to do. But yeah, so it does need to have someone that's actually operating it. You can't just flip a button and have it turn on. So that's going to be something where, again, as they work out the kinks and they work out a protocol for operations, because each committee chair is going to probably want to get trained on this so that they can turn it on and have it running for individual committee meetings as well. So it is something where that's like the next kind of step in this, right? First get it working, then get everyone else figuring out how to use it so that we, it gets the most impact possible.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Wilkinson.
Well, a great idea would be to have the person that sets that up also be able to take the minutes of the meeting. Therefore, the chairman can concentrate on doing his job at running the meeting. Just as a suggestion.
Or her job.
Or her job, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Councilor Lamb, for the work you did on this, and the staff that was in IT and here in the clerk's office. I think this is a great idea. I've seen other communities using it instead of Zoom, some of them, so I think it's a good move forward. Next paper, Council Paper 12,019, an ordinance to establish a commission to be known as the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission, and a motion to pass to a second reading and publish as required by law would be in order.
So moved?
Councilor Lamb and Councilor Sweeney. Councilor Lamb, could you read the ordinance into the record? So for the public, and also give a little bit of background on where it came from.
Sure. So I'm just going to read the ordinance as written. It's a little long, so I apologize for those listening. Be ordained by the City of North Adams, or the City Council in the City of North Adams, I can't even start it right, as follows. Article XXXVI, North Adams Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission. Section 2-185, Establishment, Composition, Qualifications, Compensation. There is hereby established a commission to be known as the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission. The mission of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission will be to provide space for ongoing work as it pertains to proposing, developing, reviewing, advising on, and advocating for policies, practices, resources, programs, and initiatives that seek to create a more equitable and inclusive municipal function in the City of North Adams. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission will respond to requests for comment and recommendation on matters referred to the Commission by officers, departments, agencies, boards, commissions, and advisory committees, and residents of the City of North Adams. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission will advise the referring individual or body, City Council, and Mayor about how such comments and recommendations could be coordinated in the municipal structure to contribute to opportunities in support of city efforts. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission will identify the concerns and needs of groups within the City of North Adams, examine existing social, economic, educational, and recreational programs, develop and propose plans that support or improve programs, policies, and structures, and make recommendations thereon to the Mayor, City Council, and other municipal bodies that seek support. This process will allow opportunities for deep participation and critical advisement in the governmental process and aims to improve the equity, access, and inclusivity within the municipal construct. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission shall consist of a total of 9 voting members, including up to 9 residents of the City of North Adams, to include 1 of whom will be City Councilor appointed to 1-year term by the City Council President, 8 of whom will be diverse community representatives appointed to 3-year terms by the Mayor with City Council approval. Diverse community representatives is herein defined as individuals who represent a variety of personal identities, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomics, ability, and educational background. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission shall consist of individuals who have an understanding and appreciation of the issues of inclusion, equity, diversity, and access, and or who have experience with diverse communities, and or those with professional experience navigating issues aligned with the mission of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission. Members of the Commission shall not be compensated, nor shall they be reimbursed for expenses. Section 2-186, Appointment Terms Vacancies. The City Council President, without objection, may make appointments of 1 elected City Councilor to 1-year terms beginning in January of a given year. The Mayor, with the approval of the City Council, will make appointments of a total of 8 individuals who will each serve a term of 3 years. Initial appointments to the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission will be made with appointment terms of such length and so arrangement that the terms of 3 non-City Council Commissioners will expire in 1 year, the terms of 3 non-City Councilor Commissioners will expire in 2 years, and the terms of the remaining 2 non-City Councilor Commissioners will expire in 3 years. All City Councilor Commission members' terms shall expire on an annual basis in alignment with the City of North Adams organization of government. Following initial appointments, any future appointments of non-City Councilor Commissioners shall be 3 years in length. In the event a vacancy occurs during the term of office of a voting member, a successor shall be appointed to complete the unexpired term of the office. Any member of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission so appointed may, after a public hearing, if requested, there's a typo there, be removed for cause by the Mayor with the approval of the City Council. Section 2-187, organization quorum. Yearly, at the meeting in January, the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission shall elect co-chairs consisting of one city council commissioner and one non-city council commissioner. A simple majority of commissioners then in office shall constitute a quorum. Section 2-188, meetings rules. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission shall meet once monthly and at such times as may be necessary for the proper exercise of its powers and duties. To aid in the orderly conduct of business, the Commission may have the authority to create, amend, and repeal its own code of bylaws. On all matters of parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules of Order shall govern. Section 2-189, powers and duties. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission may exercise all of the powers vested in it under the law prescribed to it by law and shall perform such duties as the City Council by ordinance may from time to time prescribe. Section 2-190, public hearings. The Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Commission shall from time to time conduct public hearings in order to ascertain the needs of the community that align with the role of the commission. So, excuse me. Much of that is just the logistical jargon of actually formulating a new board or commission. So again, I apologize for the length of it. But the long and the short of it is now for about a year and a half, as of, it was July of 2020, there has been an Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Working Group that was established by this council and appointed by this council to create a training for the council and to work through the potential of a collective impact statement for the council. During the course of the time, obviously, we conducted the training, and then continued to have public meetings. And one of the issues that came up was the need for a codification of this body so that it doesn't become just an ad hoc, at the whim sort of construct. And so from that conversation, which was held during our meetings, I went ahead and essentially pulled from existing ordinance that have established other commissions and bodies in the city, and paired that with the sort of mission work that has been done or discussed in the public meetings of the IDEA working group, and created this ordinance to establish it as a commission. It has gone through 2 meetings, or 1 meeting of the general government in recent history.
1 meeting of the general government, I think 2 meetings or more of the IDEA.
IDEA, yes. It came back a number of times there. So it has certainly been discussed quite a bit. There were some edits made. There was different structural pieces that needed to be kind of moved to be more streamlined. And so this is sort of the product of that almost a year now of work actually talking about this idea of codifying this work into the actual city proper. So my hope is that the council will continue to see this as being something critical that the city integrates into its full operations, and will allow for this to become codified so that we can actually have a body that's established not just at the declaration of a specific council at a specific time, but in a more sustained manner. So that's what we're bringing forward tonight. Thank you.
Could we have a motion to amend the 4th paragraph where it says one of whom will be city councilors appointed, and amend it to a city councilor?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Councilor Lamb, Councilor Harpin. Any discussion on the amendment? So let's vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any other discussion on the actual ordinance? So we have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Bona,
Yes.
Harpin,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Obasahan,
Yes.
Alaskowitz,
Yes.
Sapienza,
Yes.
Sweeney,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Blackmer, yes.
Blackmer.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Excuse me. And I apologize if I missed it. Did we approve the minutes at the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah. I know it's a little late, but I just, it was something I wanted to ask, and it seemed like we jumped right into appointing, but I apologize. Must have been sleeping.
The- Okay. Council paper 8431-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 1 of the revised ordinances, Section 1-15, entitled Ward Lines relative to Wards 1 and 2, per the 2020 federal census, voted to pass to a second reading and publish as required by law with a return to council on November 9th, 2021. A motion to adopt would be in order.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Counselor Sapienza, Counselor Wilkinson, any discussion? This is a roll call vote.
Bona,
Yes.
Harpen,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Obasahan,
Yes.
Alaskowitz,
Yes.
Sapienza,
Yes.
Sweeney,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Blackmer.
Yes. 9 yeas, motion carries. Council Paper 11,970-1A, an ordinance to further amend the City of North Adams's fiscal 2022 compensation plan to establish a single-rate compensation schedule for the public safety dispatch staff, grade X-A. Voted to pass to a second reading and publish as required by law with a return date to council on November 9th. Unanimous decision. It was published on 10/29/21. Motion to adopt would be in order.
Move to adopt?
Second.
Counselor Luskowitz, Counselor Sapienza. This is a roll call vote.
Bona,
Yes.
Harpen,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Obasahan,
I'm going to abstain.
Alaskowitz,
Yes.
Sapienza,
Yes.
Sweeney,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Blackmer.
Yes. 8 yeas, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Sorry about that.
Council Paper 11,992, communication submitted by Counselor Sweeney regarding Not in My County pledge for a countywide campaign coordinated by Bridge. It was in City Council October 12th. It was voted to postpone to the meeting of November 9th. Without objection, I'll file the communication. Counselor Sweeney?
So this was last in the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Working Group. We had a quorum at that meeting, however, we felt like we wanted a larger participation from the group to have the conversation about this item. So I'm going to make a motion to postpone to the first meeting of December.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Council Paper 12,020, communication from President Blackman requesting consideration of the declaration of the first right of refusal for 1454 South State Road, North Adams. Without objection, I'll move to file the communication. This is the third one we've done this year. You've got the details in there. Any discussion? Motion to adopt the declination would be in order. I'm sorry, Counselor Sapienza.
Yes, can we clarify, is this the existing, the former Crane building?
I only have South State Road. Counselor Alaskowitz.
We approved the larger crane building. This applies to the second crane building, which is directly to the right, which falls under the sale to Mr. Duquette, I believe, for the Stanley lumber. So we did it, we sent it to pass the send to a second reading for the right of first refusal for him on the sale. We did do this in the last meeting. It's for the second building, it's to the building to the right of the original crane manufacturing building. There's a warehouse right to the right of it, which is 1526.
Counselor Wilkinson, you have an appraisal eye and a map in your head of the city.
Doesn't really matter because we don't have the money to get, if we wanted to get the right of first refusal. There's 3 buildings down there. One is the main crane building, there was a second crane building, and then way to the left is a dilapidated little warehouse. It wasn't part of the original deal. I don't know if that's what they're referring to here, but the bottom line is, why would we want it?
I was just, to the chair, I was just curious of where this building was, that's all.
It's, whatever it is, it's going to put it back on the tax rolls, which is an important thing. The city doesn't want it, all buildings have massive amount of repairs necessary, including new roofs that have been estimated at about $700,000. We don't want it. No.
Councilor Luskowitz.
Question to the chair. I didn't read last night, but they did pass their final approval for exterior through the planning board last evening?
Yeah, the signing was approved.
Okay.
So a motion to adopt the declination would be in order.
So moved.
Move to adopt?
Second?
Councilor Lamb and Councilor Luskowitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Council paper 9625-5A. An ordinance amending the revised ordinances of the City of North Adams, Section 21-12, snow and ice removal from sidewalks by replacing the existing language with language provided herein. I just want to make a note that the entire topic was included, all the different ordinances were included in your papers. The only one that we are voting on is the one regarding 21-12, the snow and ice removal from sidewalks. So the ones about obstruction, the ones about establishing an angel program, the ones about the appeal process, et cetera, those will not be, those are not what we're actually voting on tonight. So,
Motion to pass to a second reading and publish as required by law?
I'll second.
Councilor Lamb, Councilor Sapienza.
Motion to amend? Remove the word draft?
Do we have a second on the amendment?
Second.
Councilor Sweeney. Discussion of the amendment. So let's to vote on the amendment of removing draft from the first line. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion on the actual ordinance itself? Councilor Lamb.
I'm just going to provide context here. Again, this is something that's been worked on for quite a long while. I originally brought this forward in February of 2020. I think it was that long ago. So it's seen its day in the sunlight in terms of going through various committee processes over that time. And again, as the council president mentioned, there's a lot more material on this that is not related to what we're talking about tonight. But what this really does is tries to put in place an ordinance that is not only, it provides the construct that we can actually enforce it, but also it allows for a process we can actually be compliant with. Right now, our ordinance says 12 hours. It is not realistic that the city crew can actually clear all of our respective properties and sidewalks, et cetera, in the 12-hour period. So it ups that to 24 hours, which gives both residents and the city and businesses a little bit more leeway in terms of getting that removed from their sidewalks. It puts a little bit more clarifying language on what it actually means to keep your sidewalks clear. And that is something that, as we're talking about ADA compliance, as we're talking about safety in the community, wanting more pedestrians and bikeable, places, people don't want to bike in the winter, that's their prerogative, but there are people out there that want to do that. But seeing folks, especially who have different mobility challenges, having to use their scooters on the road on an icy day in the middle of February, it's just not reasonable that should be an expectation when people, that's their way of getting around. So this really tries to add some teeth, knowing that enforcement is another layer to this, right? We need the enforcement to actually kick in to follow through with the ordinance itself. But if we don't have a construct that we can lean on and say, listen, we're going to be compliant, so everyone needs to be compliant, then it makes the argument a little bit easier here for us to actually have more significant enforcement practices in place. So,
Thank you. Councilor Rona?
I'm glad to see, again, this coming forward, and I like the enforcement part. I'm skeptical of how well that will work. That's not our job here, but the one thing I notice when it says the chief police or their designated will notify any tenant, occupant, or owner, and then they have 6 hours after that point. The notify, is that an in-person? Is there, what would be the definition of notifying, leaving a note on their door, if they're away, things like that. So then the second part is, have we or should we be getting approval through the solicitor on this to make sure everything is in line with state laws? I mean, typically, we have done that a lot in the past, but I don't know what input we have asked from the solicitor on this at this point. Besides that, I like that we've expanded, allowing the code enforcer, department and the public, the building department to be able to enforce this also. But I will be, like I say, skeptical. Again, I think we're doing our part, but we'll see after this winter, how well it works, because I'll tell you, I drive home tonight and there'll be 6 cars parked on sidewalks tonight, as they have been for the past 5 months, and I have mentioned it 3 times to the chief, so.
Councilor Lamb.
Through the chair to Councilor Rona. So in terms of the notification piece, that is giving that latitude to the department to determine that. It could be a phone call, it could be a knock on the door, it could be an actual ticketing process that they have in place for other citations that they may establish. I know when there's a vehicle that, for instance, is up on blocks for a period of time, there's a ticketing process that goes along with that, and a tracking of if it moves and that kind of thing. So that does get left to them, because to your point, we're not the enforcers, and I think us getting into the minutia of identifying what those practices are when they could change just for logistic purposes doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. So that's that piece. In terms of the, what was your second?
Solicitor.
Oh, solicitor. I am not sure if this got sent to the solicitor through the committee process.
It was in public safety. Did they ever, we don't know.
The last time it was in public safety was when Councilor LaForest was running those, so I'm not sure what that got left at.
My suggestion would be, I know most of the changes you've actually made, a lot of the language was already there.
Yeah.
Was the timeline, the pronouns, the changing to the police of chiefs, the chief of police as opposed to the commissioner, adding in code enforcement. But I would ask the mayor if we could send this in the meantime and get an opinion back from solicitor before the next meeting. That would be really helpful. Not next meeting, the 2 weeks, the published meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be I agree. I think that should happen. I will say nothing in this is new. Like, I didn't recreate wheels here. I took wheels that existed in other communities and baked them into our what seemed like a best practice from other communities. So I think that there's precedent for all of the stuff that's in here. So nothing of it is made up out of thin air.
Yeah.
Councilor Bono.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. My concern is there's something here and there's something in the state law that sets precedent over these, saying, no, you can't have those hours, or even though it's from other towns and cities, doesn't mean there's a right to. And it's just, this was more common practice years ago when we would always get approval through the solicitor when we were making, especially ordinances that were affecting the public like this. So I'd like to see something from the solicitor just saying it's okay. So.
No, I agree. I think that it makes sense. I think the big thing here too is just this is coming out before the snow flies. So yep. I think that is an important piece here that, and we don't have any control of Code Red, but I think this is something that should go out in terms of like notification to everyone, like, just so you're aware, ordinances change, here are the new guidelines, you're given an extra 12 hours to clear your sidewalks, do it. I think that's worth us actually conveying.
Do it.
If that was a little blunt, I apologize.
I thought it was funny.
Councilor Sapienza.
Yes. Does this ordinance have any provisions? I noticed that in the downtown area especially, there's always a little ridge of snow between the sidewalk and the street where you have to park for on-street parking. And when you're discharging or picking up passengers, they usually have to walk through a pile of snow. Sometimes it's icy. So I'm wondering if this ordinance includes the complete removal of snow and ice from the entire sidewalk and not just the area where people normally walk.
I would say no, because
No.
it's also the plowed. That's also in the some smaller side streets, it's harder because the sidewalk's smaller, but in the downtown, I guess you have to kind of get out a little early, let your passenger out at the sidewalk, park and then walk around or jump through snowbanks, whichever, but it didn't impact that. It was not mine.
No, yeah, so just to add to that, no, it does not address that specific piece, that nuanced part. And I should also note that this doesn't cover the point where the sidewalk meets your own piece of your house, right? So this doesn't mean that your walkway from the edge of the sidewalk to your house is under this at all either. So this is the way of travel of people, which is on the sidewalk proper, and making sure that there is enough clearance for, folks to migrate and move through that corridor. It doesn't address that, 2-foot section or whatever it might be from the actual way of travel on the road to the sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Yeah. As amended.
Bona,
Yes.
Harpen,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Vassahan,
Yes.
Alaskowitz.
Yes.
Sapienza,
Yes.
Sweeney,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Blackmer.
Yes. Motion carried. Council Paper 12,021, Mayor's Communication Number 60, providing an update on the Mohawk Theater disposition. Without objection, I'll file the communication. Mayor?
Thank you, and thanks to everyone watching on the Owl this evening. I'm going to go through some fairly lengthy prefatory comments on this. Some of them people have heard before, but I think as we talk about process, it's important to walk through the entirety of this information, particularly for the benefit of the newest member of the council. With regard to property disposition, I'll start with a couple of points of clarification. My role and responsibility is to represent the best interests of the city of North Adams and our residents. It's not in my interest or that of the city to recommend or select a bad proposal or one that does not seem viable. This is especially true with a property with as much history and emotional resonance as the Mohawk Theater. So when my team and I believe that the proposal is worth considering, it's my responsibility to pursue that opportunity. And it's the responsibility of the bidder to present their concept and vision and respond to questions, concerns, and suggestions about their proposal. Property dispositions in Massachusetts are governed under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30B. The state requirements, which in North Adams are overseen by the Office of Community Development, include declaring a property available for disposition and identifying reuse restrictions, determining the value of the property, developing the solicitation, advertising for proposals, distributing the solicitation, and opening and evaluating proposals. At that point, the local process includes the mayor appointing a proposer selection review committee. That committee reviews proposals and submits recommendations. This probably goes without saying, but it's important to note that the city cannot consider bids we don't receive. And then the mayor reviews the proposals and recommendations with the options to reject or accept the bid and proceed to purchase and sale negotiation. Examples of completed sales in recent years include the City Yard, Johnson School, and Notre Dame Church and School. The city in the past has terminated negotiations on the Windsor Mill and an earlier bid on Notre Dame Church and School. The Powell watershed land disposition remains in process. And earlier this year, the proposal for consideration of Sullivan School was rejected by the council. With that said, I want to walk through quickly about 30 years of history with regard to the Mohawk Theater. I'll actually go a little further back and just mention that in 1938, the theater opened as an E.M. Lowe's movie theater, and it closed in 1991, and there have been numerous studies and plans in the intervening years. In 1997 and 1998, Daniel Coffey Associates conducted a study for the Downtown Development Group. One of the findings there was, quote, "The stage and support facilities are totally inadequate for even modern-scale theatrical productions." This approach was with regard to a 600 to 1,000 seat theater for a minimum renovation cost of $1 million, but the final number was, quote, "dependent on the scope and scale of final use." And I'll mention that the things that I'm sharing with you were presented in March of 2019 to the Community Development Committee when the proposal to authorize the disposition of the Mohawk was brought forward. So this has been presented previously. In 1998, the city development plan with regard to the Mohawk was up to $2 million. It envisioned a movie theater and a community-based performance center with productions on a limited scale. The premise, as quoted in an article in the North Adams transcript, was, quote, to make downtown come alive. In 2000, Douglas Architects conducted a study on the restoration of the Mohawk Theater, including upgrades to mechanical and electrical systems, stage and support services, performance support, including ticketing and dressing rooms, ADA compliance, and new seating. The price tag for this proposal was $3.7 million. And the finding was that it limits the type of performances to musical acts and chamber dramas able to adapt to the staging limitations of a performance platform with no wings, and indirect access to backstage. The history of the theater from 2002 to 2008 included the city including title to all of the parcels that make up the theater, putting money into stabilization, including $1.7 million for the envelope, roof, and shell. This was a critical act of stewardship on behalf of the city, and it's something that makes the current conversation possible. The operational work, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, sound and lighting were part of this renovation. By 2010, the idea had evolved to a community use model. And one finding was that managing a performing arts theater is something the city cannot and will not do. And therefore, it was important to look at partners. Again, still premised on a strong community use study. 2011, Feingold Alexander Architects proposed a 900-seat full performance venue at $10.6 million, with additional scenarios bringing that cost up to $18 to $22 million. In 2012, the city partnered with MCLA and Concord Square, which is a design firm, on a program for 1,000 seats with the ability to screen, that is to set off seating, to a smaller 300 to 400 seat intimate space. The funding, and much of the funding and operating support for this came from the Dowland Commercial and Residential Support Operations. That is, you would develop the Dowland building in association with the Mohawk Theater. And one of the ideas there was including college housing for MCLA, although there were issues with the payback model with that. In 2014, the Office of Community Development, in doing a report on economic development projects in the city, really said that this had come full circle. Again, quoting from that report, the stage has to be expanded both in terms of width and depth in order to allow for any type of decent production to take place. And this is a major concern, as this issue itself is the driving one forcing the return in looking at, driving one forcing the return in looking at a new rear addition to the theater. And the modest cost projection there was $4 to $8 million. The Mohawk Theater is mentioned twice in the Vision 2030 comprehensive plan. Once talking about partnering with MCLA on, quote, mutually supportive projects and investments, potentially, including the Mohawk, and then strengthening programmatic connections from the college downtown, including encouraging, supporting the college's arts programs, fine and performing arts programs at the theater. You will recall that in early 2019, I made a commitment to moving on the Mohawk. The council approved the disposition in April of 2019. It was reviewed carefully by legal counsel, including and especially regarding the underlying condo arrangement in the front section of the building. All of that has been disclosed in the subsequent RFPs, so the purchaser understands the context. One of the reasons, in addition to this being advantageous to the city, is the concern about the cost of potential future taxpayer investments. The marquee, as we have seen, needs replacing, and the 13 or 14-year-old envelope replacements, we don't want to run into a situation where the city is responsible for putting another roof on the building. I'm also convinced that this is a project best suited to the private sector, especially given what we heard this evening about the pace of development downtown, the development of the hotel and other opportunities, the passing of smart growth zoning. and the potential there. And I think the premise all along has been that the Mohawk can be a key to downtown revitalization. As far as the RFP process, RFP was issued for the Mohawk in December of 2020. Those proposals were due in January of 2021. The result was 2 bids. One was incomplete and one was rejected as not being in the interest of the city. We reissued the RFP in September. They were due October 25th. We received 1 proposal which was reviewed by the Proposer Review Selection Committee. Just to give you a summary of the proposal, the applicant is the Dowland Building LLC. This is the same organization that owns the Dowland Building and the Tower and Porter Building on Eagle Street. So you'll recall the connection with Dowland was something that in a prior analysis was considered advantageous for the project. The proposed use is as a multi-purpose, flexible space for events, exhibitions, and performances. And the proposer mentioned this being planned to operate both independently and in tandem with the proposed Dowland Hotel. They're envisioning a phased process, with the first phase beginning upon closing and taking about 6 to 12 months. So this would be the assessment of the existing conditions and the restoration of the marquee. The council and the community will remember that restoration and preservation of the marquee was one of the conditions and stipulations written into the order regarding the disposition. And the second is the full redevelopment projected to 2 to 4 years, potentially, therefore, as soon as 2024 to 2025. Throughout the process, as always, we can expect and envision the project may change or evolve as the proposer does their due diligence and as there is potential engagement with other interested parties. The staff did review the proposal, the selection committee. They found the proposed use, public benefit, and description of the project advantageous. They did have concerns regarding the financing, the timeline, and the price. They did meet with the proposer. They'd conducted an interview to ask the questions, particularly about the timeline, the funding, and the status of the Dowland Hotel and the Eagle Street properties. The recommendation of this group to me was consideration for acceptance. The biggest concern they have, and it's one that I share, is around price. The proposer is proposing $21,000 for a property valued at $437,000. For me, that alone is not, however, a reason not to proceed. As mentioned, the last major investment was 13 years ago. $1.7 million in current dollars would be about $2.1 million. At half of that, it's $1,083,000. A quarter of that would be greater than the current value of the building as assessed. So my plan is to proceed with awarding the bid and negotiating the purchase and sale. With regard to process, the prior process has been that this would come to council for authorization when the bid is below value, and the council had the opportunity and the option to accept or reject the recommendation. We did, following the response to the Sullivan School RFP, reach out to the city solicitor, and that practice is not required by 30B of Mass General Law. I know this went to the council. I want to give to the new councilors the opinion from the solicitor, which will actually also give me a chance to pause. So you have the full text in front of you. I'll summarize 4 points within it. The solicitor, Lee Smith from KP, has stated, in my opinion, there is no requirement that further authorization of the City Council is required. By order number 11,767, dated February 12th, 2019, the copy attached, the City Council declared the Mohawk Theater property, quote, to be no longer needed for municipal purposes and available for disposition, and shall maintain the historic integrity of the marquee in perpetuity. And order that the mayor is authorized to dispose of the property in accordance with the requirements and provisions of MGL Chapter 30B, Section 16, to include executing a purchase and sale agreement for the property. Attorney Smith goes on to say, in my opinion, the City Council order gives broad authority to the mayor to dispose of the property without further authorization, provided that the disposition complies with GL 30B. One of the provisions of that is quote, "If the governmental body decides to dispose of the property at a price less than the value as determined pursuant to paragraph B, determining the value through procedures customarily accepted by appraising professionals as valid, the government body shall publish notice of its decision in the Central Register explaining the reasons for its decision and disclosing the difference between such value and the price to be received." So with that, again, it is my intention to proceed with a purchase and sale. However, or the negotiation, I should say, of a purchase and sale. As always, it's important to remember that this does not mean that this is the end of the road. It is the start of a process that begins with the negotiation, setting the terms, conditions, closing date. This will be negotiated by legal counsel representing both organizations. The city has the option to walk away if the terms aren't agreeable, and we will make sure that the timeline and benchmarks, including any clawback provisions, are clearly understood in the purchase and sale. I would say, as far as further information, I think the presentation this evening from Main Street Hospitality in Peregrine was a great model of an opportunity to invite the proposer to a meeting with the full council or community development as appropriate to hear more about the process. And again, like any other project, this will be brought before the planning board for their permit assignment, and it's really clear that through this process, the details and the specifics may change or evolve based on guidance as noted, including from city staff, inspection services. I think you heard from Main Street and Peregrine the support that they've received from our team. So that would be an opportunity as well. So that concludes my overview of the disposition and where things stand, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question, and then I'll go around. Is part of the negotiation going to include an option that if they do not hit benchmarks or do not complete it, that it reverts back to us?
Yeah, I think I had said if I didn't, benchmark and clawback. So we'll make sure that if there is if it seems the pace of development is not proceeding, that we would have the opportunity to call it and bring it back.
Thank you. Councilor Luskowitz? I'm sorry. Councilor Wilkinson?
He's much taller. Anyway, through the chair to the mayor. Is this something you think you can bring to an end before your term ends? And the new mayor may have a different feeling about this than you.
That's a possibility. I believe that if we proceed cautiously, but what are the magic words? Time is of the essence, that we can get this done.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bona?
Yeah. I'm disappointed because, up to now, this is sort of the first we're hearing on this, and it seems like we've sort of been pushed out of it. In the past, any RFPs that have come in that have been under the appraised value has always come through the council, and I feel like a law was found to not have to have that happen. I think when we put this up for RFP, the council, we spent quite a bit of time discussing what we wanted to see, and I think it was our understanding that if it came in low, underappraised, as I believe, I can't think of any other properties that have ever gone out for RFP that have not come back to the council under the appraised value. And I'm not pleased to see that we're being pushed out of this consideration. It's, as far as I always understood it, is it had to be of the appraised value, and I believe when we approved the RFP, that was our understanding. Other councilors could correct me if they felt different, but that's how I think we saw it. So even though there may be a law that says it doesn't have to, I feel the administration should have got our sense of what we were looking for. So, I'm not saying yes or no to the particular application. I do have my concerns. They've owned the Dowling block for 4 years, and I've seen little progress. So to think that some of this others, but and the tower block also, I know there's been some cleaning progress, but that's to say, I just don't like of how this came in without us knowing very little and sort of being pushed out of the consideration. So, thank you.
Councilor Harpen and then Councilor Lamb?
I'm happy to see a proposal. I think this is great. We all want to see the Mohawk move forward, absolutely. It seems like a good proposal. I do have some concerns myself because it just seems like it's being rushed. And I would agree with Counselor Bona. We've always had proposals that were less than the appraisal come to the council, the whole time I've been on the council, which, 4 years. So it's always worked that way. So it does seem like it is being rushed at an end of a term in hopes that, it's just going to happen for the next term. However, they have 3 or 4 years to work on the property. So it doesn't seem they're going to have any progress, I believe what you said, is until 2024 and 2025. So that's still another 3 to 4 years of the building sitting there with a proposal, which concerns me.
Councilor Lamb.
I don't know if anyone in this room is going to know the answer to this question. When did we establish the process of going through under appraised valuation? Like when an RFP has gone up historically, I only know the last 8 years at this point. I know Councilor Bona, you know way more than that. Not to age you or anything, but I'm curious if there is any sense, if we have anything in kind of the records that indicates when the practice established, because I can't imagine that practice was established arbitrarily when it was created, right? If the law has, I don't even know when the law itself was written. The law itself may have been edited, in more contemporary times. But I am curious on when a practice was established, created precedent, and then, based on a law that didn't require that precedent. I don't know if we're going to have the answer, but I'm curious if anyone knows.
Councilor Bona.
I don't have that particular law, but I guess the question is this a law that the administration could have used all along? Could you have used this for the Sullivan School?
Yes.
So
And I'm sorry, may I? So it was through the process of inquiry and clarifying the process that we came to understand that.
So I guess I'm going more off of precedents of how it has been always established. Maybe, we've always been told in here that if it goes out to RFP and if it's under the appraised value, it has to come back to council for approval. And that's how it has been, at least that I am aware of, for previous administrations. So this is the first for me. Not saying it's not, if there's a law that says it can be done, but I believe I would have acted probably differently on the initial RFP, knowing that someone could come forward, offer $10,000 for a property, and it wouldn't come back. Versus, so my understanding when we voted on that RFP, and I bet you if we go back to our minutes and watch those meetings, that question came up, and we were assured that it would come back if it was under appraised value. I would be very surprised if that was not asked at that time. So.
Again, I would just say at that time, and I have stated that it was the understanding of, I believe, everyone, and so it was the process of clarifying that demonstrated that this is the pathway.
Anyone else?
This is not a vote, right? This is just a communication.
It was
right.
an informational update. Councilor Sweeney, did you have something to add?
No.
Oh, okay. I just thought I saw your hand up, so it's hard to keep track. So I guess we move on to the next agenda item, which is open forum. Anyone wish to address the council on any issue of possible significance? You have 2 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record and no personal attacks.
My name's Larry Morrissey. I live on 93 Meadow Street with my wife Diane. I'm here in reference to the sidewalks in the city of North Adams. I live on Meadow Street, Cherry Street, Yale Street. They're horrendous. But I do want to thank Paul Markland and his crew. They came up, patched a couple places, fixed a couple manholes last week. But I want to know if there's anything in the works to get things done, because you can't even walk on sidewalks in our neighborhood. This is horrendous. My street hasn't been touched in over 30 years. I'd just like to know what's going to happen or what can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mayor's concerns.
Thank you. First off, I want to offer my congratulations to Mayor-elect Maxey. As I said on election night, I look forward to working with her over the coming weeks to ensure a successful and effective transition. I want to also thank Lynette Bond on a race well run and for her willingness to put herself out there. I want to thank and congratulate everyone who stepped forward to run for the council, the North Adams and McCann school committees, including incumbents and newly elected members. Again, I do want to welcome Councilors Harpin and Obasahan, who were sworn in tonight. Madam Clerk, Assistant Clerk, I want to thank you, the Board of Registrars, the poll wardens, the workers who conducted our elections throughout this year with dedication, integrity, respectfulness, and a learner's mind. Thank you. And then to the voters who showed up and made their voices heard through their vote. It's clear that there are many people in our community who care deeply about North Adams. I can't say anything about hydrants tonight. I'm sorry, about sidewalks tonight, but what I can say is that all 50 contracted hydrants have been installed. The contractor is still finishing up putting the area around some of those hydrants back together. The city crews replaced a hydrant at the corner of North and Tyler Street that was broken earlier in the year. I don't remember if it was Councilor Leskowitz or Councilor Sapienza who had asked about Oasis Plaza. That hydrant is back in service. The issue wasn't the hydrant in that case, it was the water line, so they've fixed the water line and that is back in service. Similarly, I think we mentioned the hydrant located in front of MCLA on Church Street next to the wooden stairs for Berkshire Towers was replaced years ago with the one across the street, and it just needs to be removed. And then somebody had asked, I don't remember if it was in this meeting or they had asked Tim Lascarbo about it. There's a bagged hydrant in front of the Beaver Mill. That hydrant is privately owned, so that is not on our maintenance list. And then in giving me the update on the project, Tim mentioned that they're in the process of looking at Public Works asset management software to keep track of our infrastructure assets for water, sewer, fleet management. And I think the idea is to pilot that with public services with the potential to add on other departments. I just want to jump back really quickly to the ordinance regarding the compensation for dispatchers and mention that I applied for, and it looks like we will be able to get some state support through the Community Compact program to update our classification and compensation plan comprehensively. I know we've talked in a couple places about those things where we've done spot changes in response to urgent or imminent circumstances where we've needed to make an adjustment in order to bring someone on board. But I think to do that comprehensively and to have a neutral party come in and do that is important. And then the second compact is regarding a formal and a deep update to the capital improvement plan. So those are moving forward. A number of events to tell people about or remind people about. This Thursday, November 11th, is Veterans Day. The traditional parade is beginning at 10:40 from the American Legion, with the ceremony at the Veterans Memorial at 11. And I do want to thank city staff, the Legion, and the veterans organizations, and our honored veterans who always make that a really respectful observance. This Friday, from 10 to 12 at Terra Nova on Main Street is the monthly forum for the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition. The topic is transportation in Northern Berkshire County, and they're asking that people bring their questions and share what they know about how our community members get where they need to go. Then on Friday afternoon, from noon to 3, immediately following the Coalition Forum, the Nonprofit Center of the Berkshires is doing a virtual volunteer fair online, and that's in collaboration with the Northern Berkshire United Way, and you can find more information about that at npcberkshires.org. The following Friday, the 19th of November is a North Berkshire Community Job Fair, again at Terra Nova. Participating businesses include Bee Fair, the Breen Center, Child Care of the Berkshires, the North Adams Public School District, and the Coalition. So if you know anyone who is looking for a job, interested in applying, that would be the place. Again, Friday, November 19th at Terra Nova. And then November 24th, I believe that's the day after our next meeting, is the holiday tree lighting, the kickoff to the holiday season, 6 p.m. from Monument Square. If it rains, the date would be Friday, November 26th. I think people have seen the trees coming in. I want to just acknowledge the donors for this year. The tree by the monument was donated by Mark and Ruth Miller on Notch Road. They made the donation in loving memory of their son Scott, their parents, and Mark's brother Paul. The tree itself was originally from the family's summer property in Maine, and Mr. Miller transplanted it to North Adams 30 years ago. And then the tree just outside at City Hall was donated by Hope and Sean Boucher of North Adams in recognition of their 20th anniversary and in memory of Hope's brother, Donnie Dix. So again, I always want to thank the team in the city, the Office of Community Events, the Fire, Inspection Services, Police, and Public Services departments for bringing in the trees, setting them up, lighting them up, and making sure that when we flip the switch on the 24th, everything goes according to plan. And then again, just a pitch that this is the start of the holiday season, and it's a good time to support your local businesses. Thank you.
Committee reports and minutes. Liaison updates and counselors' concerns. Counselor Luskowitz.
This Saturday, the Hillside Cemetery Group is looking for volunteers to come out and sweep through Southside Cemetery, Southview Cemetery, I'm sorry. They will be out there removing 3,000 flags, so they're looking for as many volunteers as they can. I was asked this morning by Ed Marino, who's organizing the effort, try to gather up some volunteers. I mean, there's quite a few flags, and he did make note that the flags will be disposed of properly through the ceremony, through the Legion. And if there's a flag at a loved one's site, you are more than welcome to keep it. Well, they're looking for volunteers Saturday morning at 10 a.m. They're going to meet behind the veteran skating rink. If anyone has time to come out and help remove 3,000 flags, they're more than welcome to come down.
Counselor Lamb.
Just to keep on the theme of flags, for folks that do go to the Veterans Day Parade or any other parade where you might be flying one of those small flags that's on a stick, don't throw it out in the garbage. Dispose of it respectfully, and if you aren't sure how to do that, there's a bin at the fire department, literally outside. It's open 24/7. You just put the flag in there, and they will dispose of it through the ceremonial burning with the American Legion. So that's a location that no matter when you're taking a flag down, if it's served its life, that's a place that you can bring it for disposal.
Thank you. Anyone else? I want to echo the mayor's congratulations to all of the newly elected officials, mayor, councilors, school committee, McCann, and North Adams Public Schools. I also want to congratulate the clerk and the assistant clerk on a job well done. And also, I had a question for the mayor. You talked about the tree lighting. Do we have a plan yet for the menorah? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I figured since we're talking about the holidays.
Yeah, we have a plan. I'm sorry, off the top of my head,
Okay.
recall the date of the first night of Hanukkah. I think it's early. It's like the 29th of November. So I'm actually speaking with Rabbi Barenblatt this week. So one of the things that we'll talk about is just making sure that we're going forward. But we will do the menorah.
So it'll be the first night.
It'll be the first night of Hanukkah as we've done in the past.
It dusk. Sundown, is that when it happens, or it's dark somewhere around there? Okay.
So at the time that the rabbi has determined is most appropriate.
Thank you. I guess that's it. A motion to adjourn would be in order?
So moved.
Second.
Counselor Lamb, Counselor Sweeney, all in favor?
Aye.